Gay Wine Week in Sonoma is on the way. This is the focus group.
It's the savvy side of 9 to 5. Listen.
Bueller.
Laugh. And learn.
Negotiation. This is what you do in business.
This is the focus group with Tim Bennett
Staunch.
and John Nash.
Keep your clothes looking neat and clean.
We're all business, except when we're not.
Welcome to the focus group. John Nash here with my good friend and co-host, Tim Bennett. You can find us live on YouTube and Facebook every Wednesday from 1 to 2 p.m. Or go to focusgroupradio.com, which is our website, and you'll have access to all our media, audio, and video, including Unbuttoned, which is our Tuesday podcast. And you can sign up for both there or sign up for any platform. It's Spotify, it's SoundCloud, it's iTunes, it's everything. Everything free. iHeart. We like the word free, right? Free is good. So here we are, officially halfway through the month. Valentine's Day came and went.
Look at that. What is that sigh for? Did you go out for a special dinner or anything?
No, we didn't even. No. I did go. I
Grumpy.
No. Valentine's Day, I used to love it when I was younger, but we talked about this before. I think we talked about it on Unbuttoned. It strikes me as such a strange holiday because they start loading the chocolate in January, maybe December even, like right after Christmas. And you know that chocolate's been sitting in a warehouse somewhere, right?
I tried to go get some of that chocolate, but I couldn't find any.
No, the Russell Stover, all that stuff. Are you serious? Were you buying it? We're going to try to.
Well, I think a lot of times it's wrapped. Those Russell Stover things are wrapped. I think maybe they just make it Easter paper, just unwrap it.
You can see the warehouse right now. They're pulling the pallets off. Rewrap for Easter.
With the holly paper and take the hearts off and put on bunnies.
So you've been paying attention to all the goings on and the primaries. And
I have a question for you. So tonight is supposed to be there's a debate tonight, and Bloomberg's going to show
on the stage.
You've lived in New York City your whole adult life. Mm-hmm. You've been through many mayors.
He was our longest,
Right, and Giuliani thought he might be run for president, and De Blasio,
that didn't go anywhere, yeah.
But all of this information coming out. So when Bloomberg was mayor, he was a Republican here.
Then he went more independent by the second or third term.
So what was your feeling of him because as a mayor of New York City is really it's tougher than being a president or prime minister in most countries. So what was your feeling of him as a?
For starters, I don't know if people remember this, but Mike Bloomberg won his office shortly after 9/11.
Right. And
New Yorkers were terrified of letting Rudy Giuliani go. God knows why.
He's so smart.
When you see him flying off to the Ukraine and doing all and like basically like smack talking all the time, there was a brief moment where he was America's mayor because he rose to the occasion on 9/11. He was present. I think he did a great job. But it should be noted that prior to 9/11, his mayorship would have gone down as one of the not so great.
Didn't he clean up Times Square?
He began the Disneyfication of Times Square, yeah. Let's get Disney in here. Let's get rid of all this seedy stuff. Many people mourn the loss of the old Times Square, including me. I mean, it was.
You didn't go down there, though.
Well, I went through it.
Right. You don't go down there now, but I mean, so they made New York a safer family tourist attraction.
Yeah. So when Bloomberg came in, it was after the 9/11, and it was 2 months after that, and everybody wanted Giuliani to run again, and Bloomberg's like, no, I won the election fair and square, I'll be the mayor. And it was off to a slow start, I think, but he did a lot of things that improved the quality of life of New Yorkers. For example, he created a call center that we still use to this day. It's kind of like a 911. You can call up for information, give complaints about noise in the neighborhood, and there was people would take action on this. The city government.
Is this like 311?
Exactly. Yeah.
We have that in Philly now too.
The city functioned far better with him. Now you could look at his record of real estate development, changing some of the zoning laws, and losing affordable housing to these high rises and a bunch of other things. But
what about stop and frisk? That seems to be the controversial.
So that. I feel that he's getting a bad rap on this. I can't say when you go back and look at his comments, yes, some of them are blatantly racist. But if you wind the clock back far enough and you go back to 2002, right? Sometimes he would simply say things like, you have to go to the neighborhoods where the crime is at. And in this city, the crime happened to be taking place, lots of it, in certain pockets of the city, and it just so happens that those actually are the big population densities for certain communities, like the African American community, for example. Now, I'm saying that as a white guy, and I'm saying that as someone who wants crime stopped, but when he came up with stop and frisk, even at the time he came up with that, it was controversial. It was not something that everybody embraced, like, oh, you got to do this, right?
It was controversial, but didn't they take a lot of guns off the street?
Tons of guns, yeah.
Nobody credits that part of it.
Yeah, so the only part that's getting the most spotlight on it is the aspect
racial profiling
of who was the victim of stop and frisk, yeah. So I'll be curious to see how he does on the debate stage, because when he ran for his second and third terms as mayor, it could be that he ran against, I don't even remember the candidates that he ran against, frankly, on the Democratic side. We'll see. In the world we live in now, right? So the other day, Trump commutes the sentences of a bunch of white-collar criminals.
Yeah.
And there's, even people in Ohio are like, whoa. This guy had a list of things that he did wrong, not just trying to sell the Senate seat, but it was...
Illinois.
In Illinois. So all the prosecutors and all the legal machinery that put these people behind bars are like, it's not a singular thing that got them behind bars. It was behavior that was bad across the spectrum.
Right.
So you have that going on. And then you have this Twitter battle going on with Trump and Bloomberg, which is almost like, can you imagine this if you went back like 15 years? Would you ever think to yourself that there would be this coarseness to it?
What I don't understand is they didn't allow President Obama to have a personal phone to check sports scores because they were concerned about security.
His BlackBerry got taken.
Meanwhile, we've got this moron that's on there nonstop espousing and bullying, quite frankly, and even though his wife, Miss B. Best, was supposed to be against cyberbullying. That's all he does. I am fearful. I hope there's some breakout performances tonight, but I'm fearful because it looks like Sanders is ahead in lots of these different polls, and the Oppo research on him. Somebody just put one out the other day that during the whole Iranian hostage crisis with Jimmy Carter, he was on the side of the Iranians, and they've got this as the leader of the Socialist Party. And so they said the Oppo research on him is just going to start coming.
Avalanche. It's an avalanche, right?
And he's been labeled a socialist already and proud of it. And they said a lot of the millennials understand that that's a different word than what we knew of the Russians are coming.
Correct, yeah.
But do you think he's electable? Or he can beat Donald Trump, Sanders?
I don't know. There's a couple of interesting pieces that came out recently. One of them was a woman who is a political science professor down in either Virginia or West Virginia. I forget which state she's in, but she has accurately pegged the last couple of elections almost down to like within being 1 or 2 points away from nailing the vote totals. And she said that it's not about swing voters. In fact, she said there's no such thing as a swing voter. People are either one or the other. And she said the difference, we call swing voters a surge in coming to the polls. So she thinks that the momentum is on the side of Democrats coming to the turnout into the presidential election, and she feels her numbers are showing her that the White House is well within reach of taking back, and there are a couple of Senate seats that look like they may fall back into our column because people are just disgusted with what's happening in their states.
My fear is there's just lots of talk about. Trump's already been labeled a racist. His people don't care.
No,
and his supporters don't care. But on the side of the Democrats, it just seems to be we've got two people leading, Bloomberg and Sanders, who neither of them are Democrats. I mean, they were both something else, but they both have their issues as well with minority communities.
And Biden has his issues too.
Yes.
And one big issue for Biden at this precise moment in time is how is that campaign being run? You're literally scratching all these states just to get to South Carolina. And what's South Carolina going to do for you? Is there like a lot of delegates that come into your hand?
Well, there is a bigger population. So yes, there's only been 1%. I think it's less than 2% of the delegates with what's
Okay.
gone on so far. So no, and then once you get to Super Tuesday, it's huge. I mean, essentially, I think there's 1,300 and some delegates up.
And then just in general, this whole, if anybody's been paying any attention to the goings on of the Department of Justice, I mean, when 2,000 former employees,
Department of what?
yeah, when 2,000 former employees being prosecutors, the whole bit, when they sign a letter saying something's really wrong, and then when 1,000 federal district court judges decide they're going to move their convention forward to start talking about how do we deal with this, because it's no longer the blind eye of justice. It's clearly someone putting their hand on the scale for a friend or a buddy. It's surprising to me that it doesn't send. It sends to people that we know this very frightening message of, wait a minute, we were a country of law, and the president was a citizen like everybody else, and he was not above the law. Well, the Republicans have shown us quite clearly that they don't agree with that. That he did, and you know, whatever your take on the articles of impeachment are. At the very least, my most favorite moment was Susan Collins deciding that the president has learned a valuable lesson. He didn't learn any lesson, honey, and you weren't teaching him either. The only thing he's learned is he got away with it, so now he's more powerful than ever, right?
She's such a buffoon.
Don't you think she goes home at night and wonders about tossing those votes away like she's throwing them down the toilet? Because she did this with Kavanaugh. She did this with the impeachment. She's done this down the line. Well,
Follow the money. With Murkowski in Alaska, the week within a week after she didn't vote to condemn Trump, I think Alaska was given multi-hundreds of $1 million transportation dollars from Elaine Chao, who's Mitch McConnell's wife, who's a cabinet secretary. So it's follow the money. Don't you vote? Oh, we have $200 million for Alaska earmarked here, but quid pro quo.
so, and this, you and I were talking about this at lunch. If you supported him, and I'm not faulting you for this, it was drain the swamp, it was corruption, it was it was all these things that he was going to wipe out, and yet the exact opposite is happening, unless I'm mistaken.
No, he's played more golf in 3 years than Obama played in 8 years.
Yes.
To the tune of $267 million.
Of Secret Service and
What happened to, I'll never leave the White House, I'll be doing so much work. We'll be winning so much.
Yeah.
But his followers don't want to believe it, and that's not going to change. They are so hooked into him, it's scary. And Lindsey Graham's of the world, those people have been such a huge disappointment because they used to be moderates.
Well, I think I'm not even sure what they used to be now when you look backward. You know what I'm getting at? Like, you can say, oh, they used to be moderates, but I guess that was convenient at the time.
Yeah.
Because if he could change his tune so quickly and turn from a duck to it's just odd. I just, Now, I read one column that was interesting that I did agree with, and it was that, at the very least, Trump gives his supporters joy. They're joyful. They're gleeful because he makes them laugh. He pokes at people.
Yeah.
He does everything that they want to do.
He's a good old boy.
Exactly.
And he's funny. There are times he could
It could be very funny, yeah.
And he knows how to work the media, and he knows how to work a camera. I mean,
Yeah.
most of what he does when he goes to these rallies is
Tells jokes.
off the top,
Off the top of his head.
Yeah. And he's on his way to Nevada, and he's staying at one of his hotels. He's going to clog up the streets just like he did up in Manchester when he went to New Hampshire during the primary and the debate. He's doing the same thing out in Nevada, and he'll be doing it in South Carolina and every other place. He knows how to.
So do you think we should just actually kick back and stop worrying about all this? Because you almost say to yourself, I'm out. I know how I'm voting.
Well, that's the fear. That's the fear, is that people, you've lost your sense of decency with government. I mean, the approval of Congress, for instance, or our government has never been great,
Lower.
right? But now it's just it's almost a joke. It's almost like we would look at when you and I were traveling once in Italy, and all the people we met in Italy when Berlusconi, however you say it, Berlusconi, I forget.
Yeah, no, you're on the right.
Berlusconi. I kept wanting to say, yeah.
I love the voice from heaven that comes
Berlusconi.
in. Thank you, Gary.
But they had just essentially said, we've got this buffoon in office, and the country is just kind of limping along as it needs to, but the Italians were all tuned out.
Yeah.
They said he was a womanizer and he was corrupt and every other thing, and they just kind of.
By the way, Italy's still recovering from that.
Yeah.
25% and higher unemployment. The country's kind of a basket case in financial terms. With our government now racking up a $1 trillion deficit under Trump and the Republicans who yelled
It was Obama.
at everybody.
Don't you watch?
Well,
Don't you watch? It was Obama, John.
that's not the
I inherited a mess.
Yeah, I
I
inherited.
had no ammunition when I took over the military. There
What was
no
that
ammunition.
line that he said during his inauguration? And George Bush, the latter, the most recent one, was like, "Man, that was some weird shit."
That was his comment about the right. The
All right, so what
inauguration.
caught your eye this week?
What caught your eye? Here's what Tim and John found.
I have a very pleasant little story.
Oh,
This came from Pennsylvania, in the suburbs right near where I live in Bryn Mawr, PA. And I saw this. Somebody had posted on Facebook, and I just thought it was such a great idea. So it's everyone knows that the demise of the library.
yeah, unfortunately.
Right, a lot of people, even colleges now, they're not even putting. A lot of books are being stored or they're being put in stacks that you really can't just go browse the stacks because libraries have computers now, or you can go and you take out other things. So this one library thought it was doing something novel, but they found out they weren't the only one. It's called the Ludington Library in Bryn Mawr, Pennsylvania, and they have a baking pan section.
Wait a minute. I saw this picture before we came on air, and I thought this was a store. This is a library?
That's a library, so those are the shelves. And they said that most of us think of libraries as a place where you can go borrow books, maybe a CD or DVD, but they said this Ludington Library in Bryn Mawr now is a baking pan section where you can actually check out specialty baking pans for your own use at home. They said they think it's a real clever idea. We've all been there where we needed to bake a cake or something, and we rush out to the store to purchase a pan. We end up buying it, and then it just sits somewhere on a shelf, never to be used again, collecting dust. If you were going to do a bunny pan or
This is
cupcakes or
brilliant.
something. So they said, why not go down and borrow a fun-shaped pan or bundt cake pan or whatever,
One use.
and then return it when it's done, save everybody the stress. And they said a lot of these are done by either the people that run the library or donations, and they brought in these special pans. If you're watching on the video, you could see there's a card there like you would take out for the book, and different shapes of pans. There's like looks like a bunny or a snowman, or
They have to come back clean,
they
right?
come back clean. You bring the pan back. And so they released this on Twitter thinking they had this novel idea, and then all these other people started responding. So the Akron Summit Library in Ohio, also the Brown County Library in Wisconsin also offer this service. And if you do a quick Google search, you'll find that there's a lot of libraries that do have this baking pan section across the country. There's one in Brookline, Massachusetts, where it says that the collection that they've had there, they actually have help from the International Housewares Association to fully stock the library with other pans. So they says it's a great opportunity for people that that need to either access quality items they may not otherwise be able to afford, or have items that would just have one use and they can get used over and over again. The other thing I found funny about this, they said that there are some libraries where you can actually check out bicycles, a cheese warmer, and even a donut maker. So all these other libraries said, oh, we've got a section for bicycles, or we've got a section where we'll loan these things.
First of all, it's brilliant and it's clever, but how weird, because we grew up, the library was where you went to get books.
Yep. So it said, of course, all libraries differ. You should check out your local branch and find out what they may have beyond what you think your libraries used to have. They said it's great to know that there's hidden treasures and some new uses for your buildings or your libraries in town. So I love the idea. I thought
That
it was
is,
cool.
I love it. I love it. I love it.
I was looking the other day for a cupcake thing to make cupcakes for somebody's birthday. And I thought, well, I'm never going to probably use the pan again. But if you could run down to the library, check it out, clean it, bring it back.
You're done. You're done. I love the idea, especially with unique cake forms or things that are a one-use thing. That's smart. All right. What caught my eye this week actually happened a while ago, but one of our listeners sent us some material and a handwritten note. And so this is a big thank you to him for this stuff. And it's from our listener, Christopher in Illinois. And here goes the letter. What he sent us, by the way, folks, is some printed material, a playbill and a special playbill with Paul Lynde apparently appeared in a couple of Neil Simon plays. So he says here, "Dear John and Grandpa Tim, hee hee. I know you guys love a handwritten letter, so here it goes. Due to the amount of DVDs I've won from you guys, my wife jokes that I'm your only listener. We all know that's not the case. Thank you so much for all the entertaining radio over the year, no matter the platform." He also included some Oreos. I did bring a bag in. We actually did sample the mystery ones, especially the mystery, because this came right before Christmas. I first thought they were pumpkin. That was the mystery Oreo thing, but though my kids convinced me they were churro, which was that the mystery Oreo before the holidays? Were they churro?
I don't know. We didn't have those. We had ones that taste like Fruit Loops, we thought.
So he said, I also included a program I found in my mother's things after she passed away from 2 live shows by Paul Lynde that she attended in the late 70s. Now, John, I know you don't like old crap, but this is pretty cool. Besides, you could always just give it to Frank DeCaro. He Merry Christmas, boys, and he says, love, Christopher from Illinois. So, thank you. We love getting this stuff.
This is a great shape.
Isn't this? It's a program guide, and it's his signature on the back. It's great. Chris, you do know movies as well as I do. You're not the only winner, but you are someone who has consistently won because you usually get it right the first time. That's the key, right? I suspect that if we hung out, actually, if Christopher and I hung out, his wife and kids could watch us do a movie battle. They could. It would be like Name That Tune.
Yeah.
Name that movie in 1 second or whatever. And that's a playbill from like a theater, right?
It's a theater in Chicago, the Hollywood Stars. So here's who's coming. Perry Como, Roberta Flack, Emmylou Harris, Liberace. Liberace's there for a week. Tony Dorsey and his orchestra, Gordon Lightfoot, Johnny Cash, and the Oak Ridge Boys. That's funny. That's got to be...
Well, it's the 70s, right? Yeah.
When did Liberace pass?
Oh, not
Early
until the late 80s or 90s. Okay. Yeah, because he did Radio City after I got out of college. Yeah, so it was the late 80s. You're right.
Ticketron.
Isn't that funny, though? When I opened the package, and it's autographed, and this is one of those special playbills you get, see? You get in the lobby. So you get the normal playbill, but if you want the commemorative playbill, that's what his mother actually got, was the commemorative one, because it has all the cast in here. Oh, my God. Isn't this great? So we loved it. So thank you, because Paul Lynde is one of my favorites, and we grew up with the Hollywood Squares.
Yes.
So, no, I don't think all old things are crap. This is flat. We'll save this in the focus group archives. Would you like to have
That's a good...
look at the letter?
Sure. Yes, it's a handwritten note. Isn't that something?
And because he knows we like handwritten notes.
How old do you think Chris is?
I don't know. He has kids, so it depends on where they're at in school, right?
Yeah,
you always try to decipher that based
on the writing. I'm guessing is about our age.
Based on the handwriting.
Yeah.
So it's not like one of our listeners in Texas.
We can't find out who that is.
He sends beautiful cursive.
Yes.
But by the way, Christopher's handwriting is perfectly legible.
Yes.
Now, if I were to rewrite this, you might be doing a prescription for something. It's like a doctor's handwriting. So thank you, Christopher. We really appreciate it. Business birthday.
Everyone does celebrity birthday greetings, but the Focus Group is the only show in the universe that celebrates business birthdays.
I was surprised by this one because I was always told something different.
This is a good setup. What is that?
So Mary Elizabeth Anderson was born today, February 19th, 1866. She died June 27th, 1953 at 87. She's a very independent woman. She was an American real estate developer, a rancher, a viticulturalist. Which means she grew grapevines, which is interesting. V-I-T-I culturalist. Viticulturist,
yeah.
Viticulturalist.
Right.
And considering we've got Gary coming on from
out in the vineyard.
Out in the vineyard. So anyway, this is kind of funny how this fell in. And most importantly, she was the inventor of the windshield wiper.
Now, wait a minute. What, the windshield wiper or the motor?
She was the original inventor of the windshield wiper. If you're watching, that's the original patent that she got back in 1902. And if you're watching, I did have a couple of pictures of her. I can't understand. I think the next slide might have it. Talk about 3 different faces of a woman. They all identify her as Mary Elizabeth Anderson, founder of the windshield wiper. But look at the one,
Okay,
two,
so
three.
interestingly, I would say the left and the bottom one could be the same woman, but I'm wondering about that starlet picture on the right, right?
They
say it's the same. So
say it's the same.
She invents the wiper blade, right?
So she was born in Alabama, and she went off to Fresno, California, where she operated a cattle ranch and a vineyard. And then on a trip in 1903 to a visit to New York City in the winter, she was on a trolley car on a frosty day. She observed that the trolley driver struggled to see past the windows because of some falling sleet. So she went home, she hired a designer, and she designed a hand-operated device to keep the windshield clear. She had a local company produce the working model.
Hand-operated?
Hand-operated
like
from inside the car.
From inside or something.
It was like inside.
Oh, literally like a lever.
Yeah.
Okay.
So she applied for a patent in 1903. It was granted. She had the patent for 17 years. Her device consisted of a lever inside the vehicle that controlled a rubber blade on the outside of the windshield. The lever could be operated to cause a spring-loaded arm to move back and forth across the windshield. There was also a counterweight on it. She started to try to sell it to auto companies. She got all kinds of letters back, particularly one from a Canadian firm that rejected her application, saying, "We do not consider this to be of a commercial value, as it would warrant our undertaking at this time." So the patent expired in 1920, and then the automobile manufacturers picked it up. Cadillac was the first car manufacturer to adopt it as standard equipment. So her great-great-niece, woman by the last name Wingo, says she never understood why Anderson's invention never went anywhere, but she suspects it was because she was a woman trying to sell it in the early 1900s. Said she didn't have a father, she didn't have a husband, she didn't have a son. And as we all know, the world was run by men back then. But even though she made no money from the windshield wiper, she did live 50 years, or she did live long enough to see the windshield wiper become ubiquitous. Even though she didn't get any money, she was inducted into the International Inventors Hall of Fame. I can't believe she didn't get any money for it. Sad.
So when you said at the beginning of this business birthday that it's different than what you thought,
Yeah.
Are you thinking the same thing I'm thinking about the person who invented the variable speed motor?
Well, they said other people have invented things similar, but she was the first with the patent to actually have it done. Hers was not motorized.
No, but the concept of the blade, but then to evolve that to the next level did require automation to the point where the driver just says blades on, and then I remember there was this whole big thing about the guy that invented the motor for that.
Yeah, I've not seen, they didn't mention that. They do mention, they do a whole bunch of things about how it was mentioned in The Simpsons and the Weather Channel. NPR have done stories about her, but essentially how she invented this thing and didn't get any money from it.
Overlooked.
Yeah.
And what a cool thing that she actually got the patent, she had it. I don't know. And do you agree with the daughter? Was it the daughter or daughter-in-law?
I do, because she kept getting denied. She said she went for 17 years. She tried to sell this thing, and then when the patent expired, they picked it up, and she got nothing for it. So the patent expired, and then Cadillac took it. Now, I always heard my friend Kate say her great-grandfather invented the windshield wiper from DuPont. But it did say there were many people that had similar.
My mom used to say that our good china came from Czechoslovakia, and it was before one of the world wars. I remember Greg was over for dinner one day, and he flips it over. He goes, "How it couldn't?" He goes, "That country didn't exist until fill in the blank."
Thanks, Greg.
Yeah, took my mom's good china down a notch. All right, we're going to talk about a little chat about good sex, and for that we want to welcome BlueChew.com to the show. Blue Chew brings you the first chewable with the same FDA-approved active ingredients as Viagra and Cialis, and you can get your first shipment free when you use our promo code here on the Focus Group, FOCUS, F-O-C-U-S. Blue Chew is prescribed online by a licensed physician, or physicians plural, so you don't have to go to the doctor's office or wait in line at the pharmacy, and it ships right to your door in a discreet package. Made here in the USA, and since Blue Chip prepares and ships direct, they're cheaper than a pharmacy, and best of all, there's no more awkwardness.
And what we love is we've got a special deal right now for our listeners of the Focus Group. If you visit bluechew.com, so it's BLUECHEW.com, and type in the code FOCUS, you'll get a free shipment. All you have to do is pay $5 for shipping. Who doesn't like free?
Who doesn't like? There might be some people that don't like it, but I don't want to meet them, right?
So again, BlueChew.com. Type in the promo code FOCUS at checkout, and all you have to do is pay $5 for shipping. It's the better, cheaper, and faster choice. We thank them for sponsoring the focus group, and I'm going to try it.
I don't want to tell the story that made Tim. We'll save that for another time.
So go to Blue
Totally different thing.
Go to BlueChew.com, type in the code FOCUS, and just for $5 shipping, you'll get a free trial. Chewable, so it's quick.
Chewable.
Exactly. So we're going to take a quick break. When we come back, we've got Gary Saperstein joining us from out in the vineyard, and he's going to talk to us about how Gay Wine Weekend became Gay Wine Week.
Evolution indeed.
Evolution indeed. So stay with us. We'll be right back.
You're listening to The Focus Group with Tim and John. Learn more at focusgroupradio.com. Focus on the savvy side of 9 to 5 with the Focus Group.
Try, really try.
Listen, laugh, and learn with Tim and John.
I never try anything. I just do it.
Hey, welcome back to the Focus Group. John Nash with Tim Bennett. It is the middle of February, and we want you to go to focusgroupradio.com. They're not connected, the month and the site. I'm just saying.
Not connected?
I'm positioning you on the calendar, on the globe, around the sun. It's the middle of February. Separate thought, go to focusgroupradio.com and check out all our media, including Unbuttoned, our Tuesday podcast, which drops on Tuesdays. Usually 3 topics, pretty fast, 20-minute show. We like it. Everybody likes it, so you can like it too.
You like the boom 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 format.
Well, yeah, it keeps you and me on the die, right? So earlier, was it yesterday or the day before? Pier 1 has announced, it's Pier 1, right?
Pier 1 is
imports.
They announced bankruptcy.
No, they're doing Chapter 11 reorganization, right? They're not doing a liquidation.
Well, they said yesterday I saw that it said bankruptcy, filed bankruptcy. Is that different?
There are 2 types. The 11 allows them to restructure, like if Macy's did that, for example, and they got rid of stores and
Yeah, this sounded like
out of business.
a little more. Yeah, this sounded a little more dire. Now, Richard and I went to Pier 1 in Rehoboth, and they were selling Christmas ornaments that were regularly $9 for 60 cents.
Wow.
Stock up.
Interesting about this brick and mortar thing. I haven't been to a Pier 1 in, I can't even tell you when. I think the last time might have been on a whim, and it goes back to our serious days because you mentioned you picked up something there, and then I think instead I went to Home Goods, maybe, which is another kind of Pier 1 store type thing, right?
Yeah. I mean, Pier 1 is more. Pier 1's the sort of thing where if you went to one in Virginia and you went to one in Nebraska, you're pretty much going to see the same thing. Whereas Home Goods,
it varies by
merchandise
region,
changes,
right?
Right. It's almost like a TJ Maxx or a TJ Maxx in that regard, or a Trader Joe's, right? You're never going to really always get the same thing.
And then what was the? There was a group of newspapers, a newspaper chain that's declaring bankruptcy today. They mentioned it on Morning Joe. And the statistic, because Steve Ratner was talking about it, and the statistic that I found fascinating was in print media alone in the last 15 years as the contractions occurred, 50 to 70% loss of jobs in that industry. And the bigger thing is local communities are now losing that access point to local news, which I think is extremely important.
Well, then they just rely on the Associated Press or the other news services to supplement their papers. It is sad. I often wonder what's going to happen. Obviously, the demise of print media, but I often wonder what's going to happen with all this brick and mortar that's been built. There's some enormous malls in every suburb, right, across the country, and even down where we are at the beach. At times, these outlet malls, they're empty. At holiday time, there are some people there, but there's these large expanses of strip malls or retail, and what happened? Do you just rip them down eventually, or what do they become? They're trying to make them apartments in some areas.
So where we grew up, our old mall was taken down, and they literally razed it, and they put in apartment complexes over
Which one?
Waterbury.
Oh, you're kidding me, really?
It's all gone, Naugatuck Valley Mall.
Wow.
Remember they had that. The Naugatuck Valley Mall was an interesting mall because it had the water features, the water wheels.
Oh, the grist mill.
The grist mills.
I thought that was something.
And it was like Brass City, right? As a result, that mall had a very particular smell to it. You know what I'm talking about?
Was from the keep the water.
Water.
Right?
Yeah, it was this, whatever they put in the water, it had a very particular smell. So that's going on. And then if you're in retail and if you've had a career in retail, you're a VP or you're someone high in a chain, what are you thinking right now? Because if your whole career has been built on first you were on the sales floor, then you go to manager, assistant manager, the whole bit, and you rise up and you're in the organization, your entire thing is wrapped around marketing and sales. And
But do you think it's so simple? So you were in a career when you started in typesetting and graphic design.
oh my God, yeah, especially typesetting.
Which doesn't happen anymore, right? No. So what would somebody that one of your contemporaries that was also doing that, if you didn't keep up like you did and move into the digital age, I guess you would just be being a typewriter repairman?
A lot of those typography houses were lockstep with printers, and as the entire industry started going digital, they either were retrained or they retired and they dropped out of the workforce because they were old enough to do that. But it all came down to retraining and learning how to use the computer and trying to transfer their skills as typesetters to the realm of the computer. But it's a fascinating thing because we've seen this since we graduated college just accelerate. It's not slowed down. It's gotten worse. When we left school, we knew people that were in industries for years. They were happily doing, like, let's say it's headhunting, or they were like, head of something at like Lord and think of like being head of retail at Lord and Taylor. It doesn't even exist anymore, right?
Well, it's Macy's, which is also closing. I think they said 140
more stores.
Yeah,
reducing their footprint further.
Did you at holiday time? Did you shop at all? Did you go into brick and mortar?
Nope. What few things I did get, I ordered.
Yeah.
They were delivered to the apartment in plenty of time, and that was that. Called it a day. So, yeah, I'm part of the problem, too. Although I do like going to a store to check out clothing. We've talked about this a lot. Yeah. I'd rather try something on in person.
I don't know. I wonder what's going to happen to a lot of this land, because I just know there's vast amounts of these buildings. I wonder if you just tear them down.
What was the mall by Capital of Connecticut? Was the West Farms Mall? Was that the Hartford Mall? So I think there's a Nordstrom's there as the anchor store. So they're still doing okay, but that's because they're close to a very large population, the density of that area. And that would be the same for Danbury, I guess, in Connecticut, for the Danbury Mall.
Yeah.
But yeah, so this news trickles out, and I think I read the headline, I'm like, oh, another store is going bankrupt. But the human capital and the human equation of all of this is the associate jobs, the executive jobs, people that have been there for years. Now you're like...
Well, a good friend of ours that's a recruiter in retail, she hasn't really worked in 3 years because everybody's closing, nobody's hiring. So it's exactly what you said. If you are Pier 1 and you've got 400 store managers, which means you've got probably 100 district managers, which means you probably have 4 regional managers, right? You go right up the chain to VPs and da-da-da-da. Where do all those people go as other places are closing? It's not like there's a lot of those positions around.
Yeah.
I don't know. It's an odd time, I think. But unless you can go to Amazon or go to one of these they're building these huge warehouses.
Yeah, but then you're just someone moving something from a shelf to a box to a conveyor belt to be packed, to put on a truck, and I'm sure that they're not paying you what they might have paid you for your expertise in retail, right?
Yeah, I always wonder about. Remember Faith Popcorn, the futurist?
Oh yeah, sure.
So I still follow her on Instagram, but I remember I watched her speak probably in the early '90s, and she had talked about. She predicted all this, and she predicted a lot of the gun violence, and she predicted how people were going to end up being cocooning into their homes. And she said she used Martha Stewart as an example of people wanting to do things themselves or stay in the craft sort of thing. But when you think about this, right, you can order your groceries, you can have those delivered. You don't have to have any interaction with people, really. Right, if you went on your computer, you can order in your food. Yeah. You can order in your clothing. You can pay your bills online, so you don't need the bank teller. You don't need to go to the grocery store to go interact with people.
I think that I looked at the Pier 1 thing. I think your thing about the type industry, typography, is very interesting. And I look at marketing and advertising. And the other day I was reading an article in Ad Age, and they were talking to a creative director who was recently hired by some startup agency that was really hot in the digital space. And the article was filled with acronyms that they didn't elude me, but I'm like, oh, here we go. So this guy was known, his career has been known for doing something called A/B testing. A/B test, and then he initiates the final campaign. This is all stuff like you go down to your marketing department and you want to promote a new widget.
Right.
And you think of 2 ways to do it, and they call that an A/B test. And the one that gets the most clicks is the one you go out with later on. So I thought about this for a minute, and I thought A/B testing, all this digital stuff, how quick can we change the message? And I realized that, any expertise or point of view that I have would not necessarily be welcome in that zone, because they're talking a language. We would not call it A/B testing. We might have called it let's focus group the brochure and see what people like. But
but a lot of what I think is missing is the gut or the intuition. Like we think this.
you
in my
read my
gut,
mind.
right?
You read my mind. So what I was getting at was there was nothing this guy said in the article that related to his years of experience anecdotally. Like, well, when I was in the beverage industry, we had this formula, or we did this. It was all about clicks and likes and shares. And I'm reading this thinking, don't they know that this is all kind of frothy anyway? You know, like you go on Facebook, I see a ton of people like shorts, workout shorts.
Yep.
Your friend so-and-so likes these shorts. Well, okay, I like my bike. And I like toilet paper in the bathroom, right? But that doesn't mean I'm running out and doing these things.
Yeah.
I don't know how we would fit into you and I still work with many great clients, and we do a lot of great consulting, and a lot of the clients we have are in a space that require us to be
Present,
and also to have our kind of background, frankly, not only in the multicultural area, but just in general, the knowledge we have from the auto industry, et cetera. But I look at some of this other stuff and I think, my God, I guess what I'm getting at is it wasn't even sexy or interesting to me. You know how advertising is usually appealing? Oh, it's advertising. We're going to do photo shoots. We're going to have fun. And then you start reading A/B testing. And it seems to all come down to an algorithm. How can we goose this thing to slide through the internet and have all these people touch it and tap it and forward it and share it? And now we're successful. But is the client actually selling more product?
Well, and we always joke that either Alexa's listening to you or something's listening to you, or if you're looking for something online, it pops up on Facebook or it pops up as an ad somewhere on Instagram, right? Or whatever. And that becomes the kind of creepy part of it. On the other side of it, though, you look at what's going on with, everybody talks about the demise of TV in the 30-second commercial. But really, isn't that how Mike Bloomberg has gotten to be where he is?
Oh, my God. $400 million.
So they're saying TV does still work.
TV still works quite effectively, yeah.
And so do you think that's what propelled him? So if you're making the case the other way to say, you know what, if you do put enough money into the market in various medium, you can still move the needle.
I believe.
But that doesn't mean people are going to vote for him, right?
No, but awareness is certainly high. It's very high. That one's an interesting one to me. But anyway, that was just one of those what if things. When I read about something like a Pier 1, or David Ratner on Morning Joe talks about how a local newspaper chain going bankrupt is one more domino falling in an industry that's lost X number of people. Right. And it's not just print production, it's journalism, it's the local stuff too. It's a fascinating. I would not have predicted this exact moment had you even put me down 20 years ago and said, "What do you think it's going to be like in 2020?"
What would you have thought about it 5 years ago? What was the movie? Was it Back to the Future? There was some movie somebody just made a big joke about where they said people are going to be walking around with a phone that essentially has all your music. You can talk on it, it's a camera. Get out of here, right? I mean, it was right? You're going to be able to have this thing that has, you can do a lot with this, right?
I honestly don't think Steve Jobs even saw that coming, man. And speaking of Apple or Steve Jobs, I'm sure you're aware, you're watching the coronavirus.
Corona.
My neighbor across the hall had a cold the other day. He goes, "I have coronavirus, lowercase c." So it's just a plain cold. But look at how interlocked the world is now. So China has this massive problem, and the equivalent of the population of the United States is being restricted to stay home. They're not shopping. They're not going to the factories. They're not going to movies. So everything's going to get affected, right?
So if our clients are listening, we have some things held up, which we do. But,
China,
you know, what I don't understand. So there's two things for me about the Chinese. We know that it is a very autocratic state, right? China.
Yeah.
So they said, how long was this going on before they let the world know, or before it got let out? And what does this do to the central power? Because they said for the first time, people are beginning to question this kind of central authority that's going on in China. This is the first time it's really going to be questioned, or what's the word I'm looking for when you're going against something?
We're going to protest it.
Yeah, but it was essentially, this is the first time the government's actually going
Pushback.
to come up
It's gonna be
against
pushback.
come up against the people being angry about them either holding on to the information or not being more forthcoming. So I don't know.
Well, it didn't help the doctor that first identified this was told to be quiet by the police, and then he himself contracted the virus and sadly passed away from it. So that's not a...
I was listening to something on NPR. I think it was yesterday. They said if you did happen to get it and you were healthy, you'll probably survive. But they have that whole there's a whole bunch of people in quarantine that were complaining. Did you see them on TV? It was hot.
Yeah, and
Air conditioning was broke.
now, one other thing to note, the flu that we're all used to, and we all hear the alarm bells, the flu takes more lives than coronavirus ever will, up until now. What was the number of deaths in the United States from flu last year? Was like over 12,000 or something?
Are you kidding me? I didn't realize it was
Elderly, young, it's very high. And doctors are like, hey, everybody, look over here.
Yeah.
This is still going on. You got to get your flu shot.
Well, there's no shot for this corona thing.
Not yet.
It will take quite a
We have Gary,
quite
yeah.
a while.
So we are going to be now welcoming to the show Gary Saperstein, who's the owner of Out in the Vineyard. This is an event that Tim and I went to 2 years ago, maybe.
Probably, yeah.
Before the fires out in the valleys, and it's an amazing event. I urge you to check it out. So, Gary, are you with us?
I am. How are you?
All right, sir. First and foremost, this used to be called Gay Wine Weekend, but it's now broadly Out in the Vineyard, and there's also a lot of new things that you've added here. So, why don't you give us a little synopsis of what you're up to?
Yeah, I'm excited. This year is going to be an amazing year. I wanted to grow the event for some time now, and so I'm sort of growing up, I guess you can say. And what it really does is it's going to give everybody a chance to really experience, a little bit more of wine country than they normally do, since it's going to be extended for 4 more days. So I'm thrilled about that. But of course, the weekend, and you guys were here and got to experience it, but it was almost 5 years ago now, right?
Was that how long? John thought it was 2. Must be 5.
Oh my God, no. Time goes fast. Time goes so fast.
It does.
But yeah, it was something, it's almost like 5 years now, maybe 4.
Wow.
But it's going to really be a full week of events where the weekend will pretty much stay, what we did beforehand. We'll have the Twilight Tea Dances, the signature event of the week, of the weekend. We still have the brunch now is something new, though. You got to attend the Sunday brunch, but that's now a Sunday. It's a drag queen brunch. Yes, which was the first time we did it last year. It still is a benefit for Face-to-Face, which is our Sonoma County HIV/AIDS network. And I'm just thrilled because we've really been able to raise almost $400,000 over the course of the last decade for the organization. And then this year, we have the winemaker dinners, the winery tours will still take place. And then during the weekday, it really will give people more of an opportunity to even experience more of the region. And one thing I'm really excited about is that we will, on Tuesday, Jim Ogerbefell, who is the lead plaintiff in the marriage equality case, is going to lead a tour of the some Russian River wineries, starting at one winery that he's a co-owner of called Equality Vines. So that's going to be really fun. Then we're going to do an all-gay winemaker dinner one of the evenings as well. So that should be, of course, is going to be a ton of fun. And it just really is going to give everybody more of an opportunity, as I said, to sort of experience a little bit more of the region by staying over during the weekdays as well.
So this is in a beautiful part of the country, of course, in Sonoma, and about an hour outside of San Francisco.
Yeah.
And this year it's July 16th through July 22nd, and it really is, I believe, one of the premier, I said on Facebook, it really is the LGBTQ event of events. I mean, it really is a great event, and you bring people in from all over the country. How many people do you expect are going to attend this year?
Yeah, I'm expecting approximately 700 people come into Sonoma for the course of the week. And from all over the country, we previous years, it's been about 18 different states people have been coming from that are represented here for the weekend.
So the big event that's at the Chateau, is this Chateau Saint Jean?
Yeah.
Chateau Saint Jean.
So that was a much bigger event, right? People come in from San Francisco for the evening, right?
Twilight Tea.
Oh, absolutely. We get a lot of that. That event's the largest event because it is the largest space where it can accommodate that many people. So approximately 700 people will attend that one event, and it's in. The setting is absolutely stunning. First of all, Chateau Saint Jean is a huge supporter of our LGBTQ community for the past. This will be their 5th year hosting the Twilight Tea Dance. And I mean, the setting is stunning. Rolling hills and vineyards all around you. And the sun is setting as the moon is rising. And you can't beat it. It's just absolutely a stunning setting with a DJ and a disco ball, of course.
So a lot of people might not be aware because of all the coverage that was given to the fires, the terrible fires out in the valleys. How is wine country faring after that?
You know, we're doing good. I like to say we're open for business. It still is absolutely beautiful. Truly, even though it definitely both what happened in 2017 and what happened this past year were awful events. So many people who lost their homes, businesses had to be closed for a certain amount of time. So we're on the way back, though. We're in recovery mode, and what we need more than anything is really for people to come back and visit. And that's why the word is just, we're open for business. Come, and you will enjoy wine country. Fortunately, if you want to say fortunately, most people, when you come to wine country, you're not even going to see the areas that did burn.
Wow. Hey, I have a question that's more of a business question. So the press out here in the last week seems to keep saying that California wines are going to be at a discount because there's such a surplus of grapes. Is that true?
Yeah, I mean, I know I've been reading the same articles over the course of the past week as well. So it's going to be interesting to see what happens. There has been a it's been each year for the past few years. We have seen, wine production has been up. And it seems that consumer buying and or drinking is down a little. So I guess we could see where that could be, what could happen, which could mean that prices could go down a little bit on wine, which could be a good thing in the long run.
Right.
I noticed you also added something that we did not experience, but I happen to like rosés myself. But there's a new event, and it's the Pink Sonoma Saturday, and this is a wine tasting revolving around rosé, which I think is really great, especially since this is happening in the summer, and I always associate rosé with a definite summer vibe, right?
Right, no doubt about it. And it's perfect. This event, I did it for the first time last year in the beginning of May. This year it'll take place May 2nd as well. And it's a benefit for Positive Images, which actually supports LGBTQ youth here in Sonoma County. And it's a great opportunity to really try and find your summer rosé wines to drink while poolside or on the patio or on the porch, wherever you may be. And it was truly such a fun event last year. It was quite colorful because not that it's mandatory, but a lot of people did wear pink, so it was a fun evening and quite colorful. If you go on the website. And look at the gallery of pictures, you'll see how colorful the day was, and really looking forward to doing it again.
So that's just a one-day event on May 2nd.
It's a one-day event, May 2nd. It takes place. Our presenting sponsor is Vianza Winery, which is a beautiful winery. One of the first you come as you enter into Sonoma, up in the hillside overlooking the summit of Sonoma Valley. So stunning views, and it should be hopefully another beautiful day.
Now, something we talk a lot about on the show is the sometimes a lack of support for LGBTQ media or events. And you've done a nice job of getting some marquee sponsors. Have you found it difficult to try to find sponsorship to help support the event, or is it just because you guys have had such success that it's a little easier?
You know, I never say it's easy, because I never just count that it's going to come that so easily to you. I'm real fortunate here in wine country. The support of the wineries and donating wine for all the events over the course of the weekend, for the wine tours and winemaker dinners and at the tea dance is phenomenal. But, when you're talking cash sponsorships, those are a little bit, more challenging to come by. But I feel really fortunate this year. Really excited that American Airlines has come on as a major sponsor, the official airline of Gay Wine Week. Virgin Voyages is coming on as a sponsor. They're going to sponsor the pool party, so you can imagine how fun that should be. And really looking forward to that as well. But always looking for new sponsors, and it's sort of fun to meet people. And what it's all about for me, it's about creating a relationship with people that they want to come back and be a part of the event year after year.
The other great thing is that when we attended, it's there's a nice group of people, and it's a great group. It's a diverse group of people, and obviously men, women, gay, straight, everybody's welcome. Yeah. So it's
open to all.
We really could not say enough nice things about the event, and when we were out there, and
you guys need to come back again.
We do need to come back.
We had good weather, and on that trip we also went to Jelly Belly.
That's right.
We had a tour of the Jelly Belly factory, which was south of where a lot of these festivities are taking place. All right, so July 16th to July 22 is out in the Vineyard, the Gay Wine Week. If you want to take part in the Pink Sonoma Saturday, which sounds super fun because I'm a rosé fan, that's going to be on May 2nd this year. And just to recap some things that you might have mentioned, there's going to be a winemaker dinner that features an all plant-based dinner, and that's going to be at the Animal Sanctuary, and that's part of the.
That's something new this year, also. Plant-based, diets are really in right now, and really making a lot of headway in this country. So I thought it was time, being on the cutting edge a little bit, or maybe it's not even on the cutting edge a little bit at this point. But I'm really excited to be able to offer an all plant-based winemaker dinner with a wine that is 100% vegan as well.
That's really cool, right? Just to be exposed to some of this stuff is fantastic. The host hotel is the Lodge at Sonoma. Yes. And it's just 5 blocks from the town square. It's a beautiful place, by the way. I think the pool party is probably there too, right?
No, the pool party now is actually at a private estate. I can't give the address away. But it's absolutely a lot of fun. And it's only just a few minutes from the host hotel in a beautiful location. So it makes you feel like a real VIP, like you're living like a local when you're at the pool party. Because
I like this. I like this. And this fact that it's sponsored by Virgin Voyages, which we've been seeing their TV ads. This is the all-adult cruises. No kids. No kids. No kids.
No kids. Exactly.
Yeah, you haven't seen this?
No.
Oh, I looked at it and I thought, oh my God, this is going to be successful. No kids. Yeah.
Yeah, they're just getting ready to launch, and actually, I was just invited actually to join them on their maiden voyage next month before they even do their first cruise in April. So we're going to test it out, because you'll be the first to know here in April of 2021. Out in the Vineyard is actually going to do a Virgin Voyage cruise.
Wow!
There you go. That's a smart idea. Very smart.
Well, Gary, thanks for joining us. And for our listeners, be sure to go to outinthevineyard.com. You can still order tickets there and get your lodging.
Yes.
And if you can't do the whole week because of schedule, though, you can still do a la carte and pick certain days, correct?
Absolutely. You can do all access VIP pass, or this weekend, actually, all the a la carte tickets will go on sale just for the tea dance tours.
Great. Well, thanks for joining us, and congratulations again. And we can't say enough great things about it, and we hope to join you again out there soon.
Thank you, Gary.
It's great to see you guys again.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Thanks, Gary.
Take care.
We have to make our way out to Gay Wine Weekend again.
No, it was fun.
We had a lot of. It was a good trip. Yeah.
True. Well, thanks for Gary for joining us. We had a little bit of technical difficulty, but glad we got him. So that
resolved it.
We resolved it. So thanks everybody for joining us. Thanks to one of our newest partners here, Blue Chew. Be sure to go to bluechew.com and use the promo code FOCUS. All you have to do is pay $5 for shipping. You get a free sample.
Free.
Thank you, John. Thanks to the boys in the booth. And we hope everyone has a good week. Don't text and drive. Arrive alive.
It's The Focus Group with Tim Bennett and John Nash. Accessible on all platforms. Subscribe, like, and rate us on your platform of choice. Learn more at focusgroupradio.com.
That was a stunning focus group.